And I could keep playing it there, but you get the point. As you said that,
Yep.
you were channeling Howard Beale from Network. Go watch the movie Network. I finally watched the whole thing in its entirety. And, once again, that movie was made in the 70s. Here we are, 2014, saying the same damn thing about things that are happening, And my dad has told me from time to time, he's like, Brian, don't, when I grew up, it was, everything's going to be nuclear blast, it's going to be Cold War, everything's going to be duck and cover with a nuclear bomb, and the world's going to implode. And he's like, here I am, how many decades later, and it didn't. He's like, I wouldn't get too worked up over things. Pay attention, get involved, but my world didn't end. Maybe yours won't either. And I'm like, well, I appreciate that. That does give me perspective from time to time when I start feeling a little overwhelmed. But on the same token, I feel like this is on a next level as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, your dad's right. But the world's going to end sometime. Where do you want to be? In your head, in your heart, and in your soul if that day should call upon you to come upon your hour? Where do you want to be? I mean, it's all a struggle. It's all messy. Birth is messy. Dinner is messy. Love-making is messy. Building a civilization is messy. Tearing a civilization down is messy. It's all messy. It's all dirty. That's the realm we live in right now. Are we a bunch of little goblin kings and queens just walking around in these biomechanical electrical devices with a nuclear component in them, I might add, and just kind of scoping each other out? No. How does it feel? How does it feel when you're in that rare moment, when you're sitting in an auditorium? Everybody remembers this, whether you were a kid or whether it was at a rock show or at a memoriam for somebody. How special is it really when they, and of course a liberal will always diffuse any kind of a philosophical treatise like the one I'm about to offer with some sort of a joke that takes the attention away from the point and reduces it to just some momentary amusement, which is why I loathe those pukes. And I do. I loathe the liberal agenda. I loathe what the Democrat Party represents. I loathe socialism, communism, and fascism. I don't want to be safe. I don't want to be safe. I said this on the show the other day. You want to be safe? Solitary confinement in your local penitentiary. That's safe. I don't want to be safe. I want to be free. I don't give a damn about any of this other stuff. I don't. But here's what I was getting at. Do you remember how you felt when you sat in a large auditorium with a huge group of people, and somebody up there said, "Let's have a moment of silence. We're going to dim the lights," and they pull those lights down to where you can't even see each other, and you just sit there quietly together? Nobody, I don't believe anybody, can deny that indescribable feeling of communion with your other little spirit beings, just to kind of wax yoga for a second. The other spirits there, you can't see each other, but you sense each other. And you're all there single-mindedly for one reason, is to be there in that room for the reason that you came to that room. And you sit there quietly together in silence and just be for a few minutes. That's what we can do. That's who we really are. We're not Michael Brown ripping off cigars. Is it worth killing the kid over a box of cigars? Well, hell no, it's not worth killing the kid over a box of cigars. Kick him in his ass and send him down the road. Say, don't do that anymore, you moron idiot. But see, tolerance has gone down because the bad guys don't look like bad guys anymore. They don't have one of those masks over their eyes with a striped shirt on, the horizontal stripes. Like they're still wearing it from when they got sprung from the penitentiary. They don't wear that. It could be the guy in the nicest business suit you ever saw. It could be this one. It could be that one. And the guy who looks like the rough character is actually the angel in the group. We don't know each other anymore because we've decided that, this thing about discrimination, Brian, to be discriminating once upon a time was a good thing. Now it means you hate black people, or you hate brown people, or you hate white people. But I think the biggest problem with this country right now is that there's a measurable percentage of people who hate themselves, and they reflect it on the rest of the world. And you combine that with the stuff that Howard Beale was talking about, the food that's not good for us, the air that's not fit to breathe. That's, I was talking to somebody it'll be revealed pretty soon. That doesn't he neither believes in God nor in chemtrails. Just doesn't believe it. It's not my job to save souls. Not my job at all. It's not between me and him. It's between him and his creator. And that's it. That's where it'll stay. But remaining in denial, I'll quote Professor Griff, founding member of the hip-hop band Public Enemy. America's pathology is her denial. And I think Professor Griff is correct on that one.
I've been looking up into the sky more often, and how do you ignore that? It's not normal traffic. It doesn't happen for a week at a time, and then
no, it's not normal at all.
No, there's nothing normal about it. I used to stay so far away from chemtrails, John. I just that is the last damn. And you know why? You know why I stayed away from it is because that's like extreme fringe. That's right up there with UFO. Things that I'm totally comfortable talking about, but I know it's like a little bit too much reality for people to handle sometimes. And I got to ask you about Fukushima, too, because you've always been my go-to guy on Fukushima, and you sell some products on your site. But before I get to Fukushima, which is in reference to Howard Beale saying the air is unfit to breathe and the water is unfit to drink, which is what Fukushima's doing. The reason why I avoided chemtrails for so long, but now I'm jumping on board. I'm putting my hand up and saying something is happening and I need a better explanation. I don't have the answers, but unfortunately society likes to say, hey, it's time to wear your tinfoil hat. And I wanted to play this little clip from this Weird Al video. I have it queued up right here. That song Royals by that girl Lorde. Weird Al does this one called Foil. I just want to play you the middle part of it. It's absolutely hilarious because this is what happens when you start talking about chemtrails. I feel like everybody turns their eyes on you and you become this guy. Here we go. So apparently I have matched third-party content according to YouTube, and it has flagged this file, it has flagged this upload, so I had to take the old one down and put this one up because I am no longer matching the third-party content. You're hearing me speak. So go look up the thing that we were just talking about, whatever that was, because I'll probably save this and use it whenever I match third-party content. Look it up on your own, and now let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming. It's absolutely one of the best things I've ever seen. I've always been a Weird Al fan. But like I feel like when I bring up certain topics, then it's like lump every piece of crazy together, and that's what you get. But I love that Weird Al put it out there because this stuff is becoming more mainstream at this point. So I think we're making some progress, John.
We are, and we may beat this thing. We may, but here's the thing: even if we beat it back, it's almost like prayer. I heard this my favorite preacher, Charles Stanley, one time say. You pray, oh, God, I'm in so much trouble. Oh, God, please help me. Oh, God, if you'll just help me. I just need you so much right now. So your prayer is answered, problem goes away, and you don't need God anymore. See ya. That's not what we are allowed to do. This thing is coming at us. If we manage to stop it, or at least slow it down, just because the symptoms settle down doesn't mean that it's gone. Or as Macbeth said, we have scotched the snake, not killed it. So the price of freedom, don't let that word make your eardrums numb. Freedom. You don't want to live in a failed state. You have I'm not talking to you, Brian. I'm saying one does not want to live in a failed state. America's people have no idea how the Russians suffered, how the Europeans suffered during World War II and with the Soviets after that. They have no idea how people suffered under Pol Pot, the killing fields in Cambodia. All those skulls. They have no idea what horror really is, and they don't want to know what it is either. And if they don't want to know what it is bad enough, then they will rise up and they will come upon their hour and they will send this government a message which is, you're fired. Every one of you SOBs is fired with the exception of you, and you. The rest of you hit the road. And guess what? You put us on a list, well, we put you on a list too. And there's a bunch of us, thanks to your economic policies that suck, who have enough time on our hands now to be able to picket you, email you, plaster your face and all the stuff you've done in your life all over the place to ensure that you will never hold any sway over another human being for the rest of your life. In fact, some of you will have your names emblazoned forever on the internet and in actual physical stone at certain locations around the country, so that your names with a description of your crimes can be remembered for generations in shame. We're being just a little bit too nice, Brian. They're not nice to us. Why are we obligated to be nice to them? We're not. You're fired. Get out. Get out. And we need to get rid of this Obama one way or another. Impeach him, fire him, charge him, do something, him and Holder, and get him out of here before they get us all killed, so to speak. These guys have either got an agenda that they're running, or they are so bleeping stupid that they're letting it happen. And I believe it's the former and not the latter at all. President Obama is a human being. I respect that. And I'm trying to respect the office of the presidency, but I'm having a real hard time with that. Because it is my opinion that he was born a communist, was raised by communists, and then mentored by communists, and quite possibly put into power with the aid of modern-day communists. Oh, not the ones, that act all freaking weird like the movies of the 50s depict them. No, the style has changed a little bit. Same agenda. Communism is what they want, and what would be even better is communo-fascism. Because at least we might have some measurable GDP, unlike what Russia had under the Soviet boot. So this simply has to be stopped. I never thought in a million years that I would ever get to this point where I was talking with men like you and women like Abby Martin and Amber Lyon and hard hitters, young hard hitters that are going to have to, when we fall, you're going to have to pick that flag up and you're going to have to carry it forward. As long as I got my strength, I'm going to keep doing it. But I tell you, I never decided, hey, you know what? I think I'll go into conspiracy podcasting. I never thought that. Oh, by the way, I'm not picking on Jones. Jones is okay. Jones is the most visible of all the anti-New World Order types.
Yeah, and I think you've even co-hosted for him.
He's been at this for a long time, a hell of a lot longer than I've been at it, and I respect that. Now, his styles and mine are different. That's fine. He's entitled to his style. That's fine. I just don't want it to be like Braveheart when he finally figures out that, wait a minute, you're my best friend. I just don't want any of us, especially the ones who have led the charge for so long, to ever be seduced by the dark side. And it has a very, very strong pull sometimes. And I'm not suggesting that that's what's happening. I'm not. I'm saying money's not everything. It is part of it, but it's not everything. For me, I need the money to be able to keep going. I don't need it to make my boat payments. I don't have a boat. I don't want a boat. From here to the end of the line, I got 10, 15 years, maybe something. I don't know, maybe more than that. If I live to be the age of my grandfather, I'll be around long enough to annoy a lot of people. But from here to the end of the line, this country's been real good to me. It really has. It enabled a guy who grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, went to public school and all that stuff, to be able to raise a family and support them at a comfortable level for many years. Well, I didn't realize what was happening to her. I sensed it, but I didn't know. But now I'm getting to where I know what's happening to her, and I can't remember everything. I'm a little bit like Sherlock Holmes. Like, I don't memorize stuff that I can go and look up. I've only got so much RAM up here in my head. I'm paraphrasing Sherlock. But from here to the end of the line, it's going to be about this country. We need to save it, because the world, I don't know, I don't think it's hubris that makes me say, if America didn't exist, the world would be in a lot more chaotic a condition than it is even now.
You know what?
It would be the Middle East everywhere. Anyway, I'll stop.
Well, that's
Thanks
what
for
they're
giving me so much speech time.
I always do. That's how we roll, brother.
I know.
Well, I mean, that's what they want. They want a caliphate. Whether that is partially engineered or not, there is a group of people that want a global caliphate, and it is part of it. I pulled something up here because you got me thinking. I don't know why, but you're just inspiring me to find little clips for movies, and I haven't pre-screened this, so it may be more vulgar than I'm usually prepared to play. But you talked about how you throw them all out. You rise up and say you are all fired, and you etch their names in misery. The Benedict Arnold, the stain that you've given your entire name, the disgrace that falls upon you forevermore. You leave them wondering what now. And this is just a little clip from a movie. Let's see if anyone can guess it. So apparently I have matched third-party content according to YouTube, and it has flagged this file, it has flagged this upload, so I had to take the old one down and put this one up because I am no longer matching the third-party content. You're hearing me speak. So go look up the thing that we were just talking about, whatever that was, because I'll probably save this and use it whenever I match third-party content. Look it up on your own, and now let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming. That would be Pulp Fiction, and at some point you have to rise to the level of the Christian ways to turn the other cheek, and I just haven't been hardwired that way, and I strive to become enlightened enough to understand nonviolence, and I look at Ferguson and I say you can't be burning things and encouraging riots. You're supposed to rise up in peace, but when the war hits your door, things change at that point. I think there's a big difference between stirring things up to create a problem versus defending yourself against an enemy once attacked. And it's getting harder and harder at this point in toward the end of August 2014 to say that we're not getting attacked economically, legitimately, violently. Like we're hearing that it's inevitable. People, just brace yourself for the attack from ISIS. What? That just doesn't sit well with me, John. And at some point you got to get medieval, and you got to strap them, strap your boots on. You got to polish what needs to be polished, and you need to stand up and approach evil. Evil needs to be fought head on. I don't know if Christ still wanted to turn the other cheek to pure evil, and I'm missing the point there. But at some point you just got to get medieval and set something right.
I haven't read this, but I heard that he said, keep turning your other cheek. I can't remember if it's that turn your other cheek. Okay, that's twice. Now, on the third one, I smack you. I don't know if it went that way, but I heard one time that he said turn it like a 7 times 7 or something like this, or 7 with a 7 for the exponent. I don't remember what he said, but a bunch of times. But, as your momentary warrior priest, John B., that's me. Let me just say, we've been turning the other cheek for decades now. I think we're good. I would also submit to you that those cowboys out there, that little dude, Glenn Beck, they're domestic terrorists, and Greta Van Susteren about his Cliven Bundy's supposed racist statement, unacceptable, and all this other stuff. Well, those cowboys showed a side of the American spirit that those people knew they'd better back down from it. And I would submit to you that inside of every American, there is a cowboy and a cowgirl or a cowgirl trying to get out. And when it hits the fan, it will come out, and we will win. I only worry about what degree of suffering will have to be endured for those cowboys and cowgirls to come out. I think they're coming out now. I think they see the writing on the wall. I believe we are getting stronger. I really do. But I'm just trying to get people to just please look at what's happening and think 2 or 3 moves into the game and see where you're going to be in 5 years from now. Forget it. Think of it this way. Where are we going to be as a people? As a people, where are you going to be as an individual? In the time of the average car loan. Just think of
60
it that
months.
way. Can't make a 10-year plan, can't make a 20-year plan? Fine. Make a 36-month or a 48-month or a 60-month plan. Where will we be? Can you imagine the damage look at the damage that has happened to this country? Look at our image around the world. Look at what's happening to our money, our job. 110 million people on welfare? Oh my God. You got to be kidding me. Well, that makes it sound like if they're getting, oh, and by the way, J.P. Morgan Chase, and you can find this out real easy, gets a slice of the welfare check.
Oh, on the EBT cards now. There's a
Absolutely.
little. Ah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they get a slice. There's money in poverty. That's why they want to keep people in poverty.
And there's
and all
power.
Clive Bundy said was, hell, they sit on their porches all day. Their little girls get pregnant. Their young men go to jail. They got nothing to do. They got no way to do it. Except they got nothing to do except wait for the next check. He goes, it makes you ask, were they better off as slaves? They had their families. They had things to do. They were clothed and they were housed. I mean, nobody takes a slave that costs $500 other than a psychopath. $500, which is about, I don't know how many thousands of dollars in today's money, and then takes the slave home and abuses him. Those guys, why is it that most of those slaves stayed with their so-called masters? It's because they loved each other. And it wasn't because they were necessarily sleeping with each other, although there was some of that going on too. Just ask Thomas Jefferson when you get up there to see him. Tell him I said hi if you get there before I do. It's like black people and white people get along fine. It's these third-party agitators that get us all jacked up. Now, this deal in Ferguson, that's just a freak deal. There's a lot of poor people down there, and rumors start circulating, and they're already jacked up. They're already all right, pissed off. And so they hear that a kid's gotten shot down by a cop. The fact that he's white makes it worse. Well, I didn't see anybody rioting or picketing or looting or burning over that white kid that got shot by the black cop up in Utah.
That was outside of a convenience store, right? On the curb, was that the one? They're all blending together. We see so many of these damn cop murder stories now. It's hard to keep track.
Well, and again, just playing the so-called devil's advocate, I understand why some of these guys are not suitable to be cops. There is a possibility that some of them have joined and become cops as a legal means of killing people. These things happen. It's like the old Tom Waits song. It's a strange song, too. Everything you can think of is true. Well, everything you can think of is true.
Did you say a Tom Waits song was... I'm sorry. Did you say a Tom Waits song was strange? That's a little redundant, but I'll let that one slide.
Yeah, it is. Well, this is especially strange.
I love Nighthawks at the Diner, one of my favorite albums of all time, but I digress. Go ahead.
Nobody puts a flower on a flower's grave. Wow. I mean, Tom, what happened to make you write this? Anyway.
But yeah, if you can think of it, then it is true.
You just thought of it. It is. I mean, it can be actually even realized. In every group, you're going to find, the geniuses and the nutcases and the ones that just want to, they're enthusiastic to follow a leader. They're willing to follow. They're willing to be soldiers. That not everybody wants to be a general. I mean, did you ever think you were going to do this, what you do now?
I did. I know that was probably a rhetorical question, but I'm going to jump all over you with that one. I did high school. I was a journalist in high school. I wrote for our little school paper. I announced games at for the high school football. In college, I was doing radio, and I wrote for that newspaper. I mean, I always imagined that I was going to. I don't know. I liked connecting to the important stuff and putting my opinion out there.
Cool.
I didn't feel like. Okay, I also felt like I was going to be a professional baseball player or maybe a football player, but I didn't grow enough. And, sure, I had other ideas of what I wanted to do, but I was a musician. I wanted to make it in music. You were a music DJ for a long time, and you loved music just as much as I did. And, that didn't work out for me as a career yet. I'm still young enough to keep going, but I don't know. I did not envision that I was going to be on the pseudo front lines of some really, really horrible stuff just about to tip over, and I'm trying like hell to keep it from happening. No,
I think you read my mind just then, because I was going to say, well, then, Brian, riddle me this. Did you ever think you'd be talking about the stuff that you're talking about these days?
Yeah, I don't think I put those thoughts together, because ignorance is
No.
bliss. It would have been nice to just be a sports fan and music fan and just get drunk on the weekends and just, I've lived that life. I can't do it. I think it was my 8th grade teacher who really got me hooked on history, because we got bonus points for watching the news and knowing what the name of the hurricane was and what murder trial was going on and what civil war was breaking out. I just got hooked on it, and I like knowing what's happening. But
Yep.
it's an uncomfortable place to be, but the only more uncomfortable place would be for me to be sitting on the sidelines. I'd rather be on the field if the game's going to be happening with or without me.
Yep. Well said. Well said. Well, peace can also be very exciting. People say, oh, there's a little thing that nags me and maybe others. That's like, it's almost like, couldn't I sin just a little bit more? Because it's so much fun and still be saved. I mean, couldn't I just kind of be a little bit naughty? I mean, not evil, but just naughty. And by the same token, the answer to that is not really. But
oh, don't spoil it for me, John. Come on. I was starting to feel where you're going there. I was like, yeah, that guy makes a lot of sense. He's a prophet.
I mean, if we have peace and all that, I mean, where's the juice? Where's the action? Where's the danger? It's like, folks, life is dangerous. I mean, there's a banana peel out there waiting for somebody, and that person's going to bust their head and check out as a result of it. So, look, we're all going to check off of the planet one day, so there's plenty of danger even during peacetime to keep the adventurous spirit sated for the most part. But it is possible to have an exciting piece of exploration. And if we're going to do something dangerous, let's do it by actually trying to bend time and space and make a light speed jump from here over to that star system over there, and it'll take 20 years. But we're going to try it. We're going to do it. Let's do some stuff like that. Not let's go, well, how many people do you think we'll lose if we invade Syria? We don't need to be doing that anymore. Either the Middle East is so insane that it's like we might as well go over there and make some money because they're insane anyway, or we've just gotten used to playing both sides against the middle for so long that now all of the sides are pointing their fingers at us going, so you are the perpetrator of this, and they're coming for us. The American people are the ones that are going to do the suffering for the sins of their leaders. They would do well to remember that. In every war, 90% of the casualties are civilians. You know why that is? Because the people allow it.
And I sometimes think that whole region is a little off-center, a little wacky, a little nuts, and I can't make any damn sense of it. But when you do realize all the stuff that we're doing behind the scenes, and when I say we, it's not you and me, John. It's some other people that you and I also don't like. I mean, we're on the same team if we come from that perspective. But when it comes to convert or die, yeah, I think we got a problem.
Well, they don't call them closed-door meetings for nothing.
Yeah, and imagine, John, take yourself into a closed-door meeting. What do you want to see happen with Syria here? Because part of me is feeling riled up, and it's like, just turn it to glass. I am so sick of all this crap. And then the other side of me goes, hold on, you're being tricked again, just like Iraq. Weapons of mass destruction. So I'm kind of, what would you do if you were in that closed-door meeting with Syria, with ISIS, with terror cells, with the southern border? Like, put you in charge. What would the first couple things, what would you want to do if you were in charge for a day? Closed-door meeting.
In charge of everything? Well, I'd have to know a lot more than I do now, but I haven't heard a lot of chatter coming out of Egypt lately, so it looks like they decided we're not going to live this way and we're going to have an election. So things seem fairly stable over there now. They've been pretty quiet, but again, I don't really know. Now, where ISIS is concerned, what I'd do is I get a hold of the Joint Chiefs and the director of the CIA and go, I need some answers, and I need them now. Now, who started this cluster foxtrot? And don't try and cover your backsides on this, because if you try it, I'll know, and I'll have you arrested. And I can do that under the Emergency War Powers Act, which I'm about 15 minutes from signing. Now, spit it out. Who are these cats, and who started this? Is this one of ours? Is this our operation? You trained them, didn't you? What's your name? You trained them. All right, well, I'll tell you what. You got 24 hours to come up with some ideas, and they better be good ones. You try and write some densely worded paragraph to me to try and cover yourself, and I'm going to know that's what you did, and you're going to be fired and probably charged. And I need for you to find out how strong they are and where they are. I want you to use every asset that we have. We don't have any on the ground, thanks. We just lost one. That would be Foley. So I want satellite pictures. I want everything. I want everything you got. Get a hold of those Nazis down there in South America and tell them we want to borrow the Hanabu for a couple of days. And you get that thing over there and scare the hell out of everybody. I want them to see that UFO over there. And I want you to give me some pictures and bring back. And don't give me another troop count of between 10,000 and 50,000. I want answers, and I want numbers, and I want them now. Okay? Now get out of here. I'll see you in 24 hours. And I don't mean 24 hours and 1 second either. And then I would probably start talking to the Navy. I'd get on the phone with Vlad and go, I'm coming over for a drink. Get the Dasha ready, and I want a couple of cute Devotchkas hanging around. I'm just kidding. Actually, if you do a deal with the Russians, they'll send the prettiest girl over to your table to bring you your drink or your meal, and if you so much as acknowledge her presence, they will mark you instantly as weak. So don't do that. That's just a heads up.
I'm gonna have to file that one away. Yeah, okay. I'm filing that one away. All right.
Yeah, definitely. I get a hold of Vlad and go, what are we going to do about this? I mean, why don't you take half and I'll take half? It'll be like the old days. Or do we just leave Assad alone? I'll tell you what, Vlad. Now, if you screw me, I'm telling you I'm going to screw you back and you're going to stay screwed. But I'll make a deal with you. It'll be a handshake deal. You handle Assad. And while this Ukraine thing is going on, I really don't blame you. I know what happened over there. They were trying to pull Ukraine into the EU because it's fallen on its backside. They wanted the oil and gas. I understand you're not wanting to let that or the Navy base go. I'm okay with that. But you got to promise me you're going to limit the casualties. You can't do any heavy artillery or aerial bombing, none of that. Okay? Just don't do it. We'll talk with that guy and get him to chill out, and we'll see if we can just cool this off a little bit so you guys aren't killing each other. But you handle Assad. Either you handle him or I'm going to handle him, and I don't think you want me to handle him. Okay, I take care of Bashir. Now, you're going to take care of Bashir. Yes. You promise. Yes. All right. You promised 3 times. You better do it. All right. See you. Let's have one more vodka. All right. Get me to the plane. And then I come back to D.C., and I think I would clear my calendar of all my vacation plans. And by the time a month had gone by, everybody in the Pentagon would be totally sick of me. Because they were actually being compelled to do their job. It's like, we got one shot at this, and that's it. The next thing I would have already done, actually, is I would have closed that border, and I would have just said, you got 30 days to leave the country. If you don't, your assets will be seized along with any cash and possessions that you have. If you re-enter this country, and as we determine that you do it, it's going to be a forced incarceration at a very, very dreary labor camp for a long time. So don't come in here again. We understand it's screwed up down there. We're going to try and do something about it. But see, that's a good way to wind up like Kennedy. Because if you want to really help anybody down in the Central American, South American countries, you're going to have to deal with the cartels. Because that's how they make their money, oil and drugs. Everybody needs money. They look at the U.S. and they go, we want more like that. We want good cars and big houses. We want everything that they have. So what we have to do at that point then, man, if I was in charge, it would take more than a day, but it's like we have to make a philosophical shift away from materialism. We can no longer put bumper stickers on our cars that say, he who dies with the most toys wins. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, well, a lot of people took that to heart. And now their iPhone and their music box, where they use on their phone, they got a separate device for that, and their big screen TV and all this social media and all this stuff, they're distracted on so many levels that it's dumbing them down. You just seen these articles recently that have come out about, are we getting more stupid?
Yeah,
IQ scores are dropping. Well, gee, I wonder why. How long do they think it's going to take after a couple of 3 generations of continual fluoride and chlorine ingestion, coupled with GMO, coupled with whatever's in the air, and all these drugs? And you just heard about the whistleblower at the CDC who said that whole 2004 report on the, the MMS?
The vaccines
And the autism. study was a complete, he used the F word, fraud. We know that global warming is a fraud. It's only a mechanism to redistribute wealth from wealthy countries, money from wealthy countries to other parts of the world. It is, in fact, a mechanism to bring about global communism. No country any more powerful than any other. All of them being run by one central think tank. And the United Nations, as President of the United States, I would kick their asses out of this country. I would say, if you SOBs want to be what you are, tell you what, we got an aircraft carrier over here that we were going to mothball, but we're going to put you on it. And you can go sail around, but you're not going to be in New York City or anywhere in this country. I'm throwing you out. And we're going to use the United Nations building as a museum to illustrate all of the heinous individuals who have perpetrated their insanity on people who only wanted to live their legacy. Now get out of here, and don't let the door hit you in the backside on your way out. But you better go quick, or it will hit you in the backside on your way out, because I'm going to kick it shut. That's what needs to happen. We need to actually discover that the men actually have some testosterone left over. The women are the ones that are out there going, are you going to do anything about this, or do we have to do it? Men are out there making A-bombs. Women are planning how to clean up the mess that the boys have made again. Seriously, we need a complete shift, a la the 1960s, only in a much different direction. We need a dramatic shift in consciousness and philosophy, and just decide that the car, want more car, motorcycle, want many more motorcycles, drink, want more drink, drug, want more drug. That's all got to go away. Stuff, want more stuff. No, you can't. You can't do it. It's making people jealous, and it's sucking up too many resources, and and your stuff, if you haven't noticed, owns you.
Yeah,
there,
I've noticed that. No, I don't want you to be dumb, because here's what I want you to do. As a favor to me and as a favor to your listeners, I think John B. Wells, I think you need to do a State of the Union speech on your show sometime. But, actually hash something out, have a little bullet-pointed agenda to kind of go through how you would fix things. Because, honestly, I think we all have that moment where we'd say, if I were in charge for a day, oh, my Lord, here's where I would start. Because none of it seems to be making much sense right now. The president just comes out, he says, I don't have a plan on ISIS. Oh, awesome. That's fantastic.
Why would you say something like that in public? I guess for the same reason that you say stupid things like, I'm pretty good at killing people. What kind of a president would say such a thing, Brian?
Not much of one. And that was the hardest thing for me to listen to when you were, if you were in charge for a day. Because when you were talking with Vladimir and you were doing things, my brain was having such a hard time processing this, because that's the exact opposite of how our president handles himself. Either he's in bed with the bad guys making things worse, or he's totally outclassed and totally in over his head, completely inept. It's one of the two. You and I, this is not the first time I've discussed this with you, but it's one of the two. And as you were saying these things, I couldn't even imagine an American president doing that, because we haven't had it in so long.
Brian, the scary part to me is that it's a lot of fun talking with you, because you prompt a lot of what I think are fairly cogent thoughts. I'm afraid it's both of those things.
How could it be both? If he was bad at being a bad guy, then wouldn't things be working out accidentally?
I think what he is he's in collusion with the nefarious ones, and he's a rank amateur at it.
But it's like a double negative. Like you said, a weird Tom Waits song. Okay, that's redundant. That was a double positive. If it's a double negative...
It just means they can use him. He's easy to use. They can manipulate him. Now listen, what we want you to do is climb down this cannon, okay? And I want you to tie this ribbon on the end of the shell that you'll feel down there at the bottom, and then back out real slow. Okay. That's what I mean by rank amateur. Either one of us would go, what? You go down there, Howie. I'm not going down the barrel of the cannon. But he'll do what he's directed to do. Because at this point, I think what we've got are a couple of, with this president and this attorney general,
Yeah.
I think we have a couple of real America haters. I mean, these guys absolutely have no regard for the law whatsoever. I mean, he said that if he were to put his signature on either amnesty or something, it was on Drudge. The quote was, "Well, I would effectively be breaking the law." This guy doesn't care about breaking the law because everybody thinks that the black people will go crazy. You know what? I got the nicest email from this lady that said, "John, I just want you to know that my husband and I are both black Americans, and that the comments that you have made are not racist. You are absolutely correct in your comments about Ferguson." And she went on to prove it. I mean, it wasn't just somebody making up that, I'm going to tell them that I'm black, make him feel better. That's not how it goes. We got phones down at the office too, and some of the people who contact us leave phone numbers. Please feel free to call me if you want to. So sometimes I have the blonde savant do that. That's a code name for the coordinator down there. And
It's a good name. I like that.
Oh yeah, blonde savant. Get it?
It's good.
And it's true. But yeah, this whole black and white thing, they're playing this as much as they possibly can.
Of course they are, John. Of course they are. I live in a black neighborhood, and half of the people, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a cool person, you're a cool person. If you're up to some crap, you need to be called out on it. And if you're up to a lot of crap, then we have a real big problem. I don't care if you're white. I don't care what color you are. None of that stuff makes. So few people in my life give a damn about what people look like. It's about the actions. I don't think anyone cares about people that are Muslim, that are practicing a healthy spiritual connection with what they deem to be God. It's the problem when it's convert or die, decapitation, head on a spike. Okay, I think we have a problem here. This isn't a racial thing. This isn't you look like that. It's not a continental thing. It's an action thing. Ferguson was, MSNBC loved the opportunity to try to drum that thing up. They missed on Trayvon Martin because it looked like George Zimmerman was actually attacked after probably following a guy a little too close because there were burglaries in his neighborhood. Not a crime to follow someone, it is a crime to attack someone, and he just had a more powerful opportunity to defend himself. They missed out on that chance, and then we gotta get it on Ferguson. I just read a story today, and I'm trying to track it down, that as a juvenile, that man who was involved in the Ferguson situation may or may not have been involved in second-degree murder with sealed court records. I can't claim any of that stuff to be true. I don't know if the cop had suffered an orbital eye socket blowout. I'm reading stories just like everybody else. That's why I'm not rushing to judgment, because I'm taking in all the facts and data before I jump up and demand things. I think that's the attitude we need to have, and not stirring things up and trying to get the two dogs barking at each other instead of the mailman, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Now, if it turns out, I've always thought that maybe stealing something from a guy, but they don't know you've stolen anything yet, and like you say, the crushed orbital. First it was, we talked with a fellow named Stephen King who lives up there outside of Ferguson. He's got a gun training center and stuff like that, and he's an ex-cop of 25 years, and he goes, well, of course they left him out there like that. They got to see where the shell casings fell. They got to see everything. It's treated like a crime scene. And if this guy is guilty, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. If he did something wrong, he goes, but the word that I've got is that he's got a busted nose, his jaw's busted in two places, and his orbital's crushed. Well, 2 days later, CNN comes out and says, well, it's just like his face was swollen, but, his orbital wasn't crushed. It's like, you don't know if his orbital was crushed or not. CNN's numbers are going into the toilet, right along with MSNBC. Why? Because nobody's watching. Why is that? Because it's rubbish. That dude, Ed Schultz, and all these people, and Brzezinski's daughter, I think, worked for MSNBC.
Yeah, she's in the morning with Morning Joe. What's her name? Yeah, you know what? And I like it. What's her name? That blonde with the legs. Who cares? We don't know her enough to pay attention because, exactly, that person. Sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd want to smoke the cigarette with her afterwards, but I don't know what I think the conversation would probably be a basking in the afterglow killer. But yeah, it's very cute, very attractive. But
yeah, the ratings are going through the toilet. We don't have all the facts in the case, and if it turns out that this cop did we get the data and it looks like, hey man, this guy had surrendered and he was just shot in the back, and that's not what the 3 autopsies. We still don't have the toxicology reports on that, by the way. Where the hell are those, and why is that taking so long? If this cop was indeed injured,
I don't know, man.
Why didn't the police put this out there to calm it down? Like, this guy was attacked. He was attacked, and he has busted up facial this, that, and the other. We're going to put this all out in the court case. Can you guys calm down? We want to explain this. So it's leading me to believe maybe none of that did happen, and that's other disinfo trying to stick up for a cop. I'm not sticking up for a dirty cop, but I need the data before I start screaming and burning things and taunting riot police. That's just nutty.
If people are running around with signs that say "kill the police" and they're stealing ATMs and they're busting up stores and stealing stuff out of there, that's just criminal behavior. That's not justice. That's not a protest. That's a riot, complete with the looting.
Yeah.
Now, do I think people should be shot for that? No. Only if they threaten other people's lives who are saying, "Get out of here. This is my shop. You guys get out of here." If they say, "Well, we'll just bleep you up," it's like that's when the guns go off, right then, as soon as you're threatened.
Your life is in danger, right? I felt
that's just how it is,
for my life. Yeah.
You want to give up your life, or do you want to save your life? What's it going to be? Look what happened at the L.A. riots. The Koreans were up on their rooftops, with their deer rifles.
And what is it?
I'd clear of them.
And what is it? I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Well, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is the story that I got from this guy who's supposed to be in the know, the Stephen King.
Yeah.
Said they were walking down the middle. They were out in the middle of the street, and the cop just beeped them, told them, "Hey, get out of the street." And it was like, bleep you. And it's like, what? So Michael Brown supposedly rushed the cop, and I guess was going to, knock the man about his face and lips, as Alexander Scott used to say on I Spy, played by Cosby. And the gun went off in the car. And the cops beat up. And I noticed when they were showing the shot placement from the front, if this is to be believed, I'm just basing my comments on the evidence that's been presented so far.
Yeah, this is a if X, then Y and Z. Now, if B, then C and D. Now, if M, and you go down, it's like, okay, well, if this happened, because in this situation, I couldn't imagine, being a punk or whatnot, I couldn't imagine just rushing an officer to punch him in the face. Unless they were really close, or...
Well, man, I can't imagine somebody coming up going, kill me, after he just stole a soda pop.
You're right.
How about that white kid with the AK-47, man? Did you see that video where obviously he didn't want to kill the 2 policemen that were in the car. Either that or it was a cop driving, and maybe it was his girlfriend or his wife with him. I don't know. It looked like he was out in the sticks somewhere. And this kid's got this AK, and he goes, boom, 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 and he's hitting the car all over. But all he had to do if he wanted to kill the policeman is just aim toward the steering wheel. But he didn't do that. He was just shooting the hell out of the car, and then he changed his magazines. He's telling the guy, kill me, shoot me. So the cop goes out there and shoots him. He just dumps his whole 15-round mag plus one up the pipe at this kid, knocked, and the kid just falls over.
Yeah, I didn't see that one, but I saw the one where the guy, come on, kill me, wait, shoot me, come on, kill me.
What are you going to do with that?
In Ferguson, a couple miles away,
St.
a couple
Louis,
days later.
St. Louis.
Yeah, that was terrible.
How do you deal with something like that?
Well, when he came up on the side, and he was going right. I watched it multiple times, and it was horrible. I hated watching that. But what he was doing. He was suicide by cop. It was mental problems.
Here's the deal, man. Civilized people don't behave that way. They don't understand that kind of behavior because they wouldn't do it themselves. Now, right over here in Highland Park, Texas, which is a very nice part, we call it the bubble. It's like the Beverly Hills of this part of the world, and it's nice. Well, this guy was all despondent about his wife divorced him. He was just this nerdy accountant guy. This is some years ago, and he grabbed the scissors and he killed a woman right in front of. In any case, he used these scissors on her and whacked her out. Okay, these things happen, but and he just sat there in court with just this look on his face, like. There wasn't any emotion. It was just total deadpan.
Yeah, that's one. Is it psychotropic drugs or is it
reality?
Yeah.
And this stuff happens. It doesn't matter whether you live in the ghetto, as they call it, or the hood, or if you live in Beverly Hills. Look at all the. Remember that lunatic DuPont when he whacked out his friend and trainer or whatever it was, the heir to the DuPont thing. This is many years ago. People do crazy things like that. They do, but. That you cannot the ones that are doing the rioting and the looting in Ferguson were mostly black folks, aided and abetted by, I don't know, I didn't see any white folks. There might have been some there. I know there were some that were part of the protest. Now they're raising hell and all that.
I saw a couple
but
that
crime
were...
is crime. It doesn't matter what color the person is that's committing it. Crazy is crazy. It doesn't... Crazy doesn't have... Homicidal craziness does not respect color of skin.
Yeah,
it just doesn't.
It's a non-discriminating character flaw. It runs rampant.
We got to get rid of this race thing and all this racist stuff, and this slavery thing needs to be. We need to get past that. Nobody who is alive today had anything to do with that.
That's
Nobody
easy for you to say, John. That's easy for you to say, John.
To do with that.
As a middle-class white guy, that's easy for you to say. That's exactly what they say. That's the response to that. Well,
nobody has. Look, nobody was more put upon. Nobody was more of a slave than the Irish, who built by hand the entire New York subway system back in the 1800s that still exists. Nobody was put upon more than the Italians when they come over here, or the Jews. I'm tired of hearing about everybody's struggle. Quit whining. Get off your ASS and go out there and make something of yourself. Stop blaming somebody else for the fact that you're a scumbag and a liar and a thief and a drug addict and a rapist and a criminal. Square yourself away and unbleep yourself, as Gunnery Sergeant Hartman said in Full Metal Jacket. Quit blaming people for being a screw-up. It's not their fault, it's your fault. Take some responsibility and stop being a whining little titty baby. Sorry. Did I actually say that on your show? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man.
Hey.
At least I left off dude.
I think you consider dude to be a much larger offense than a couple of choice words from time to time, Dancer.
Well, the society's paradigm has shifted so much. Now alpha hole is now, I consider, when somebody calls me that, I consider it to be a badge of honor.
Oh, man.
You know, have you noticed that there's not one, but I'm talking about men now, and maybe women too, but I'm not a woman, so I don't know.
Yet.
I haven't ever heard any man who really actually had something going on in his life that people who didn't have that much going on did not refer to him as an alpha hole.
An alpha hole.
Yeah, why would they call him that? It's because he has been able to exploit his opportunities in a manner that you have not, and you're jealous. That's why you call him that. Which is why I say I consider it a badge of honor. I don't get that label very often, but sometimes.
Yep. I jumped in and took away when I was confused. Why would this guy jump in and punch the cop? I want to get back to Stephen King real quick as we wrap this up, and then I got to get a Fukushima update out of you.
Okay.
Now, so your buddy that's connected over there, his version of the story. Cop pulls up, says, "Hey, get out of the road." Guys say, "F you." Then this Michael Brown charges the cop and hits him about the face and lips. That's where we were.
Yeah, because if that is Michael Brown in the store, roughing up the store clerk, I can't say that judging from that goofy picture they put up of Brown, that was the same guy, but it kind of looks like it. I mean, how many 6'4", 300-pound guys are around there? Probably quite a few.
And it sure looks like
Brown? Okay, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Let's say that it was.
Well, hold on. It also, John, it also looks like no, my bad. I'm interrupting you. It also looks like the skinny dreadlock dude that came out and gave his version of the events. It looked like he was the one holding the door there, and that guy admitted that they did go to the store and steal those.
Okay, so it was Brown. So he's already jacked up. And now the cop comes over there, and he's that country-looking cop, with his ears sticking out. He's got some ears, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Bless his heart. And says, "Y'all get out of the road," And they're like, "Hey, man." So let's say Brown did rush him because the gun went off in the car. Somebody said the gun went off in the car. More than one person said the gun went off in the car.
Yeah, I'm hearing that everywhere. There was a discharge somewhere in the vehicle that there was an attempt made to get the gun. Now, did he pull up right next to these guys and say, "Hey, get out of the road," in a quick hit?
Don't know that, but
am I getting arrested?
I'm just guessing that he drove up. I mean, maybe he called over his PA to get out of the street from 20 feet away. Unknown, Brian. I just can't answer that.
Exactly. Same here.
But anyway, so they head off down the street after punching the cop out. The cop gets out and says, "Halt." And Brown turns around and charges him again. And I noticed where the impact points of the officer's bullets on Brown's body. I mean, it's a tragedy. Anytime a young man gets whacked out, I don't care really what he was doing. I don't care if he's absolutely, completely guilty. It's still
John, that kill me outside of the convenience store stealing 2 pops, that was horrible. And that guy was asking to be. Yes, it made me disgusted for humanity. I don't get any joy out of watching it. I get no pleasure. It made me sad. A part of my soul died watching that. The murder by cop thing that was on video a couple days later. The kid caught it on tape. No, yeah. I didn't enjoy watching that at all.
No, not at all. And how about? And I don't like seeing that black guy's dog get shot by this cop. It was just a Rottweiler puppy, and it was
jumped out
concerned
the window
over its master, going, "What's going on?" This dumbass cop just, no mace or anything like that. Just go ahead and just kill the dog. I thought it was horrible, and they kill people's dogs all the time, and I think that's wrong. It was in our way. It's like, well, you big dumbass, thanks for killing my golden retriever, you moron. You alarmed the dog by coming through the yard, but you had probably a drug suspect. Well, if your masters weren't letting the drugs in here through an open border, you probably wouldn't have to be so worried about drugs. There are 2 sides to it. But going back to the cop, so Brown charges him. This guy's already beat up, so he's got his gun on him, and he says, "Halt!" in the name of the law or whatever he says. Guy doesn't stop, so he starts shooting, and he knows the impact points are up his right arm, and they gradually make their way up the right side of his body if they finally hit him in the head. So I asked Steven, I said, was he using a Glock by chance, 9 milli? And he goes, I believe it was 40 caliber, but yeah, it's a Glock. I said, every time I shoot one of those damn things, I always pull off to the left as the magazine gets emptier because it's a lightweight weapon, and as the weight goes away from the cartridges being fired and the gun gets lighter and lighter, I would pull, unless I'm really concentrating, I'll keep pulling to the left. He goes, well, most people pull their shots to the left. He goes, and you're probably exactly right. That's what happened. And that Glock 40 is going to kick more than the 9 milli. So if the cop's already jacked up and he's hurt, then he's not going to be hitting square in the middle. But as far as him shooting in the back and all that, I would be very surprised if it turns out that Michael Brown was shot in the back. If he was shot in the back, that's a problem.
That is a problem. We agree with that, and I've seen 3 autopsies, and I haven't heard any more about this shot in the back. It doesn't, at least in my understanding of things, that didn't occur.
Like I say, if anybody, I saw these California cops shoot this guy in the back. He'd already given up. He had his hands up. He was against the car, and this bastard came up there and shot him in the back, killed him. Look, this stuff happens. I'm not taking the side of the cops, but just like back in 85, some terrorists had blown up the Rome and I want to say the Rome and Vienna airports, let off bombs over there, and that was when Gaddafi was kind of running wild a little bit. And I remember that the London police, the Bobbies, now they all got MP5s, those Heckler and Koch MP5 submachine guns, the black ones you see in all the movies.
Yeah.
And one of the spokesmen said, I think it's deplorable that police must be dispatched in this fashion. And because the Bobbies, for years, the unarmed Bobbies could talk the shotgun-wielding bank robber out of it and have him surrender. And every once in a while, one of them would get killed. But in England, the cops were unarmed. And they still managed to talk a lot of people down from the ledge who were about to absolutely ruin their lives, commit a murder. It was bad enough they were going to do time for bank robbery. But to kill a person, it's like they would just quietly take somebody away like, oh, you poor soul, my God, may he have mercy on your soul. You are such a disaster and a cluster foxtrot of a human being. And they just take the person away, and they'd go to Strangways prison, which is like a nightmare. It's just abject deprivation. It's horrible. Prison in England, anywhere in Europe, is absolutely, it's horrible.
Yeah, I was watching what this show called. I think it was on A&E. It was called Turn. I don't know if you caught that one. It was about America's first spy ring during the Revolutionary War, and they talked about the deplorable conditions of the boats when they would put the prisoners, the captives, out on the boats, and it was just beyond a death trap. It was.
See, that's going too far.
Yeah.
And then but the liberals come along. I remember one liberal woman saying something like, "The measure of our civilization is how well we treat the very worst of us." Well, I say that I go back to the old axiom, which is the measure of a civilization is the distance between it and its bioeffluvia. Okay? That's why the Romans decided to build those aqueducts and get that sewage out of here. And there is two-legged sewage as well as the immobile sewage. And we need to separate ourselves from that, but we do not. I mean, that's why it's part of the Bill of Rights. No weird people, no strange and unusual punishment techniques. I think melting somebody in an electric chair is pretty rough way to check out. That strikes me as being cruel and unusual punishment. But sometimes when justice is meted out in a murder case like that, assuming you've got the guilty party, which is kind of rough, and blacks have taken it on the backside for decades, more than decades maybe, but some white ones have too. There are a lot of innocent people of all colors who have been sentenced to death wrongfully, and it's just the way it is.
And in today's day and age, there's so much less of what used to be happening back in the day, 150 years ago, around the Civil War in the 1960s. This is just a totally different world. Everybody has cameras. You can't really get away with all that crap that used to go on. And frankly, the society has changed for the better in most ways. And I don't hear the story, you don't see the same people running out there and talking about the Marine that was heckled, hey, white boy, and beaten senseless, and the guy that was knocked out at the Waffle House. It's not safe for whites in here. You don't see people flipping out because it's just an act of evil. It's just an act of stupidity and violence. And I just feel like there's less and less of that. And that's what we need to focus on. Yes, if Michael Brown was shot 11 times in the back of his head, in the back of his spine, in the back of his leg, okay, yep, we got a big problem, and that cop needs to go away forever. If there's a gray area, we slow down and get the facts, and that's where I'm at on that. But where I'm at on this now is we're wrapping up the show, John, and I just want to get a Fukushima update from you, because as soon as I try to pretend that this is better, or Fukushima drifts from my mind's eye and it falls down on my list of priorities, something reminds me again. Can you give us an update? Can you tell us about the products that you sell on your website and just kind of get us up to speed with what we know now, how many years later?
Well, the products on the website, we've got a couple of really good Geiger counter models from Vince Mazer up in Colorado. They're American-made. The only thing that's made anywhere other than the United States is the international AC adapter that's made in Taiwan, so at least it doesn't say made in China on it. We were carrying some from the Russians back in the days, but because the supplies were just tapped out right after Fukushima in March of 2011. So we went with the Russian devices, and they're good. I mean, they're still in service. We haven't had any complaints on them. They work well, but the demand was so heavy on them that there began to be some problems with just little stuff like the batteries wouldn't want to stay in and stuff like this. No, that's not going to work. We're not going to pass this on to anybody. And then Vince Mazer contacted us. So these are real good devices. And the thing that's most interesting about them is not only for this caliber of instrument are they reasonably priced, and they really are, but also there's a special cable. People will go, why do I want to pay that for that cable? It's a special cable. It's not just something you can pick up at your local Radio Shack. And you can plug it into your PC, and you can map. I mean, the battery life is almost interminable. So you can chart and see on a graph where your spikes of radiation occurred over a period of days. You can just leave the thing on practically all the time. So it's a great device. And we've got everything from heirloom seeds and water purification devices like these excellent Berkey ones. I've never drunk so much water in my life as I have since I got one of these Berkey filters, because the water is delicious and it filters out to the virus level, and it's good stuff. It really is. And so much stuff on there. We've got a great library. All of the guests that we bring on the program, we have links to get their books if people are interested in that. And people will enjoy it. It's like the greatest salesman in the world once said, you'll be interested in this even if you don't buy it. So I urge people to come to Caravan to Midnight. Just look around the site. You'll enjoy it.
And is Fukushima fixed, or is it still an issue?
No, man, it's not fixed at all. Let's see. I'm looking at my favorite. There's a quote by me on this. E&E News, my favorite website for this sort of thing, says John B. Wells, while hosting Coast to Coast AM, the #1 overnight radio program in the U.S. I thought that was nice of them to put that up there. Here's one from the 29th. Accident in Reactor 3 fuel pool at Fukushima. A large piece of wreckage falls nearby spent uranium rods. M5 quake hits plant soon after. Official unable to say whether any have been damaged. Then we got Officials reveal about 2 trillion becquerels of Fukushima radioactive material flowed into ocean every month during 2013. Deadly strontium releases now more than double cesium. Strontium gets into your bones. It changes the equation. Here's one more. Major science meeting on Fukushima's link to wildlife problems on West Coast. Looking closely at extent of radiation coming into affected areas and how to best assess impact. Human health experts reevaluating radiation limits in seafood. FDA levels not terribly protective.
Reevaluating what we will allow you to consume. That's disgusting. The brilliant minds in the world.
Killer. I mean, it really is. It's a potential planet killer. And the thing that's a damnable misery about it, Brian, is that even with all the imagination that I could possibly muster, I cannot fathom a solution to this. They're talking about everything from ice walls and they've just lied and lied and lied and lied. But see, that goes back to the philosophy of things. The Japanese thought, we kick Yankee ass. We'll put that. Remember those great 240Zs they put out? That was an expensive car, and they lost money on it. And they made it available at a very reasonable price because they wanted to compete, and they did. And then, as you noticed, for the Z cars, which were their most popular cars, as the models changed, they got more expensive and more expensive and more expensive until they wound up capturing an enormous market share. They wanted to compete. They had come out of I'd use that word again, the deprivation of World War II, and now they were going to compete on a global level with these great products. They were dedicated, and they wanted to build something great. They're not really good at inventing things themselves, but man, they can take something that you've invented and they can improve that thing beyond your wildest dreams. They're really, really good at that, and they adapted quickly, just like that GTR. That thing's put together, that engine's put together in a clean room, and the motor's hermetically sealed. It's insane. I mean, these people are really good. So they thought, we kick Yankee butt. So they built 54 nuclear reactors along a known fault line. You know the word kamikaze? Well, it means divine wind. And the reason that word came into being was that on 2 occasions, great big tsunami-producing, unbelievably strong divine winds saved Japan from invasion and certain destruction on 2 occasions. I mean, one in the 1200s and then another one later, and I don't remember when. So they have a history of having storms. And this last one, the one that was big enough to destroy Fukushima Daiichi, was the evil wind rather than the divine one, unless its purpose was to deliver them unto the presence of the divine entity, because that place is screwed up completely. Hundreds of cases of thyroid cancer. I mean, it's big time bad. And up and down the west coast of this country and on up into toward Alaska. You know, the sea stars melting, weird mutations on the sea life, weird creatures that belong way out yonder and way, way down there. What's the name of that fish? An oarfish. Nobody sees an oarfish from the beach. That's a deep water fish. And then the scientists were wrong. They said, well, no big deal. As the radioactive water goes into the Pacific, it'll all be diluted by salt water, and that'll be a good thing. Well, no, that's not the case. It collects in big globs of radioactive airless bubbles, if you will. It clings together, and those concentrations are extraordinarily high, and there's weird stuff happening to all the sea life all over California. But the news media keeps it suppressed because they don't want to freak everybody out. And it's worth being freaked out about because it's slow. I mean, these things are insidious. It doesn't kill you all at once. It starts changing your DNA. It starts changing your RNA. And the releases over there are strong enough to unwind your bleeping helix permanently. It's bad. And if you get this app, and I recommend that you do, it's called SafeCast, and it comes from an outfit in Japan, you can see the spread of radiation across the world. I mean, it's not abating at all.
Yeah,
not at all.
I did download that app. But the most important question, and I have it, and I do look at it, and it might be prompting me to move a little bit more inland, but, there'll just be another problem over there. all that aside, the important thing we want to know is, did you see President Obama's new suit? What did you think of him in that color? Wasn't that an interesting suit that he was wearing when he came out and said we didn't have a strategy? No, it's the truth. We're not paying attention to this story. It's not settled, and it's polluting the air. It's polluting the water. I mean, we all have to swim in this pool. This is something we all need to pay attention to. I'm going to keep following it. You don't hear much about it, but that's why every time I talk with you, I got to kind of get the latest, because I know you're still digging around on it, and I know we still haven't gotten the two thumbs up. Hey, okay, everything's good. So, yeah, if you guys want to take a look over at John's site, Caravan to Midnight. He has some, like he said, some products over there where you can test and see just how bad the things are that you have and that you're coming in contact with. I recommend that as well. Rapid fire, 2 quick things on our way out the door. Number 1, did you happen to see that there were strange lights reported just around the time that there was that San Francisco earthquake?
Yes, I did see that report, and it's interesting that they called a scientist to make comments on it, and he said, well, we don't really know why this happens, but it does. It's like, well, gee, that's funny. Not until the other day did I ever hear, after several decades of hearing all about earthquakes, I never heard about any electrical activity that caused bluish lights in the sky, but apparently this is common. No. So everybody's wondering if HAARP did it, of course, and who knows.
Second rapid fire question. A few weeks ago, if you remember, Joan Rivers came out and said we have our first gay president, the president's gay, and Michelle's a tranny, and she delivered it in a way that was very odd. It was very matter-of-fact, and like, really, you don't know this? And she's a comedian, she presses buttons and says weird things, but this was a very weird thing delivered in a very weird way. A few weeks later, Joan is now in a coma. Any thoughts?
Coincidence? 24 hours in a day, 24 beers in a case. Coincidence? I get it. I don't know, but this timing is I'm a little suspicious of the timing. But I'll tell you what, after that comment, I was already kind of wondering, but I haven't been able to look at Michelle in the same way ever since. I'll put it that way. And when I go and look at some of the poses that Obama has struck, like at the judo match where he's like got his foot and his arm cocked, like, ooh, that must have hurt. It's just like, whoa. I stopped short of calling her first lad, Michael, on more than a couple of occasions. So who knows? If I go into a coma, you'll know that it's true and that they spiked something that I was doing too. Okay.
Yeah, some of those golf poses, the mom jeans, the baseball pitch. All right, I know you did a little crazy, a little wacky. Michelle's arms, like I wouldn't want to arm wrestle her. Okay, fine. But no, it's just kind of interesting. Joan Rivers comes out and says something really out there, and now she's really out there in a coma. Just, Michael Hastings and, you can go down Andrew Breitbart. You come out and say certain things, and then very shortly after, some bad things happen. So I don't know, John. But anyhow, that's why I called him Rapid Fire. We're out of time. I appreciate your time today, as always. Once again, everybody go check out caravantomidnight.com. And, yeah, one of these days, man, John, we're going to get this stuff figured out.
All right. In the meantime, I'll leave you with one word, and the word is engage.
I like it. Engage with John on his site, Caravan to Midnight, and engage with us over at thenewamericanmedia.com. Follow us on Twitter at American_media_ and subscribe to youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. For everybody here at the TNAM Radio Network, I appreciate you, I love you, and peace.
Hi, everybody. You're listening to Agree to Disagree with Brian Engelman, and this is John B. Wells reminding you that not only is Brian Engelman a cool guy, and not only is the NewAmericanMedia.com a very cool platform, but here's a cool idea for you, too. Are you alone? Not really. Do you like dogs? Do you like cats? You do. Of course you do. Everybody does. One or the other, maybe even both. There are a lot of dogs and cats that are at shelters right now, and if somebody doesn't take them home, they're going to wind up euthanized. That's a nice way of saying they're going to be killed because there's simply not enough room. I guarantee it, the best dogs and the best cats, the best pets come from shelters. There's something about dogs and cats. They know. They know where they are. You walk through one of them, and certainly at least one is going to look at you and go, I wish you'd take me home. I'm in hell. Please take me out of here. It'll be the best thing that you ever did. for your soul. You'll feel good about it. And not only that, but you have a friend for life. Doesn't matter if you got money, you don't have money. Well, it doesn't make any difference to a dog or cat. All they need is the sound of your voice and maybe even the stroke of your hand, and they're fine. Maybe a little food every once in a while. The sweetest sound that those pets ever hear is your voice. Think it over and adopt a cat or a dog from a local shelter today. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did.